Chapter 6: The Chase. Pursuit. The engine of the battered jeep coughed and sputtered, its ancient heart struggling against the relentless uphill climb. Inside, Sarah gripped the worn leather of the passenger seat, her knuckles white. Rain lashed against the windshield, blurring the already indistinct mountain road ahead. Beside her, Daniel, a wiry man with eyes that held the wisdom of years spent deciphering ancient texts, gripped the steering wheel with equal intensity. Behind them, the rhythmic thump of a helicopter's rotors echoed through the storm, relentless percussion of impending doom. They hadn't expected to be pursued so relentlessly. The escape from the city had been harrowing, a chaotic scramble through flooded streets and collapsing buildings. The miraculous intervention, a sudden lull in the storm that allowed them to cross a treacherous bridge just moments before it crumbled, had felt like a direct answer to their fervent prayers. But the reprieve was short-lived. The shadowy organization, known only as the Serpent's Coil, had tracked them, their relentless pursuit a chilling testament to their resources and determination. "They're gaining on us, Daniel," Sarah said, her voice barely audible above the roar of the engine and the storm. Her gaze was fixed on the swirling rain outside, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She felt a familiar pang of fear, a chilling echo of the trauma that had haunted her for years. Yet, mingled with the fear was a resolute faith, a conviction that God's hand was still upon them, guiding their desperate flight. Daniel grunted, his face grim. "We need to find a place to lose them, somewhere they won't expect us." He glanced at the rear-view mirror, his eyes narrowing. The helicopter was closer now, its shadow a dark predator looming through the downpour. The jeep lurched violently as Daniel swerved to avoid a massive, rain-slicked rock. Sarah braced herself, clutching a worn leather-bound Bible clutched in her lap. Within its pages lay the ancient prophecy she discovered, a prophecy that had set her on this perilous journey, a prophecy that spoke of the end times and the imminent return of Christ. It was a prophecy that had brought her here, to this desperate flight, to this relentless chase. They plunged deeper into the mountains, the road deteriorating into a barely discernible track. The jeep struggled, its engine groaning under the strain. Daniel muttered prayers under his breath, his voice a low hum against the storm's fury. He was a man of faith, a devout Christian, his strength born not from physical prowess, but from an unwavering belief in divine providence. They passed through a narrow gorge, the towering cliffs claustrophobic in their embrace. The helicopter followed, its powerful searchlight cutting through the darkness like a celestial sword. Sarah closed her eyes, whispering a prayer for guidance and protection. The weight of the world seemed to rest on her shoulders, the burden of her past, the responsibility for the lives of her companions, the looming shadow of the apocalypse. Suddenly, Daniel slammed on the brakes, bringing the jeep to a jarring halt. "There," he breathed, pointing to a narrow opening in the cliff face, barely visible in the torrential rain. "A cave. It's our only chance." They scrambled out of the jeep, the wind and rain battering them mercilessly. They raced towards the cave opening, the helicopter's searchlight briefly illuminating their figures before it was lost in the swirling mists. They tumbled inside, collapsing in a heap within the damp, cool darkness. The cave was small and cramped, its entrance almost completely obscured by overhanging rocks and vegetation. It was the perfect hiding place, a secret sanctuary hidden from the prying eyes of their pursuers. For a while, they sat in silence, listening to the helicopter's relentless search circling overhead. The silence, broken only by the dripping water, amplified the tension. Fear gnawed at Sarah, a familiar companion that threatened to consume her. But she found strength in her faith, in the shared conviction of her companions that God was with them, guiding and protecting them. They prayed, their voices a hushed chorus in the darkness, seeking solace and strength in the face of impending danger. They knew they couldn't stay hidden forever. The Serpent's Coil would eventually find them. But this temporary refuge, this moment of respite, allowed them to regroup, to assess their situation, to renew their faith. The hours crawled by, each moment punctuated by the distant drone of the helicopter. Sarah recounted her journey, explaining how she'd initially been a skeptic, dismissing the apocalyptic prophecies as mere religious fantasy. But then the signs had multiplied, the escalating disasters, the growing global unrest, the unsettling prophecies she'd uncovered. These events had shaken her to her core, forcing her to confront her faith, leading her to the covenant. The story of her past trauma, a devastating car accident that had claimed the lives of her parents, served as a stark reminder of life's fragility. It had been a time of intense spiritual struggle, a time when her faith had wavered, when she'd questioned God's presence in her life. But the search for answers, her discovery of the ancient prophecy, her interactions with the covenant, had rekindled her faith, forging a strength that surprised even herself. She shared this story, not merely as a personal revelation, but as a testament to God's unwavering grace, a demonstration of his ability to heal broken hearts and restore shattered lives. The others shared their own testimonies, their experiences underlining the strength that comes from faith, the comfort derived from prayer, and the unwavering hope that God's plan will prevail, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Each shared experience reaffirmed their collective resolve, their commitment to stand against the darkness. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the cave entrance, painting streaks of light across the damp walls, a sense of cautious optimism settled over the small group. They knew the chase was far from over. The serpent's coil would not give up so easily. But they also knew that they were not alone. They had faith, they had each other, and they had God on their side. They would continue to run, to fight, to pray, trusting in God's plan, even as the world around them crumbled. The rain had stopped, a subtle sign of hope in the grim reality of their situation. The sun, though still obscured by clouds, offered a promise of a new day, a new chance, and new hope. They emerged from the cave, ready to face whatever lay ahead, their hearts filled with a mixture of fear, determination, and unwavering faith. The journey, fraught with peril and uncertainty, would continue. But their resolve, forged in prayer and strengthened by their shared belief, remained unshaken. The chase continued, but so did their hope. Narrow escape. The Jeep, a relic of a bygone era, groaned under the strain of the relentless ascent. Daniel wrestled with the steering wheel, his knuckles bone-white against the worn leather. The mountain road, barely more than a goat track in places, twisted and turned, offering little respite from their pursuers. Below, the valley floor stretched out, a vast, unforgiving expanse where their escape route was limited. Above, the sky, a bruised purple from the lingering storm, offered no solace. Only the persistent drone of the helicopter, a malevolent insect buzzing relentlessly overhead, filled the air. Sarah, eyes fixed on the treacherous path ahead, muttered a silent prayer. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her, the safety of Daniel, the hope of their mission, the faith of those who relied on their success. She clutched a worn leather-bound Bible, its pages dog-eared and stained from years of use, a tangible connection to the faith that sustained them. It wasn't just a book, it was a lifeline, a source of strength in their desperate flight. Suddenly, Daniel slammed on the brakes, the Jeep shuddering violently. Ahead, a landslide had blocked the road, a monstrous wall of rock and mud, an insurmountable obstacle. The helicopter, sensing their predicament, descended rapidly, its shadow looming large over them. Panic threatened to overwhelm Sarah, but she fought it back, drawing strength from her faith. This was it, she thought. This was where their journey ended. But then, as quickly as despair set in, hope flickered. Daniel, his face etched with grim determination, pointed to a barely visible path winding around the landslide, a narrow, precarious route clinging to the mountainside. It was a risky maneuver, fraught with danger, but it was their only chance. With a silent prayer, Daniel expertly navigated the Jeep along the treacherous path, the wheels slipping and sliding on loose scree. The helicopter, hampered by the narrowness of the passage, couldn't follow. They were momentarily free, but the reprieve felt fleeting. Their narrow escape was short-lived. As they emerged from the treacherous mountain pass, they found themselves confronted by another obstacle. A raging river, swollen and fast-flowing from the recent downpour, blocked their escape. Despair threatened to consume them once more. The helicopter, having regained its pursuit, was circling overhead like a predator. Time was running out. Then, a flash of inspiration struck Daniel. He spotted a seemingly impossible passage, a rickety, old rope bridge swaying precariously across the chasm, its wooden planks rotting and worn. It was a perilous gamble, but it was their only hope. With trembling hands, Daniel gripped the steering wheel, his faith the only thing stronger than his fear. He inched the Jeep forward, its wheels trembling on the edge of the abyss. The bridge groaned under their weight, each creak a potential death knell. Sarah closed her eyes, whispering a desperate prayer for their safety. She felt the Jeep sway, a sickening lurch that sent her stomach into her throat. It felt as though they were teetering on the edge of eternity. The bridge swayed violently, threatening to send them plummeting into the raging torrent below. Yet, somehow, they crossed. On the other side, they stopped, catching their breath and offering a heartfelt thanks to God for their improbable escape. Their journey was far from over. The relentless pursuit continued, the helicopter's shadow a constant reminder of the danger that stalked them. They knew the serpent's coil wouldn't give up easily. Their pursuers were relentless, driven by a dark purpose Sarah and Daniel could only guess at. They pressed on, trusting in God's protection and the unwavering support of each other. Their faith was their shield, their prayer their weapon, in the relentless chase that stretched before them. Their escape continued, marked by a series of near misses. They evaded capture by utilizing their knowledge of the terrain, navigating through winding paths, crossing treacherous streams, and even utilizing abandoned mine shafts to momentarily throw off their pursuers. Each escape felt like a miracle, a testament to the power of faith and the intervention of a higher power. One such instance involved a derelict farm, its buildings crumbling and overgrown with weeds. Daniel, guided by an almost uncanny sense of intuition, steered the Jeep toward the seemingly abandoned complex. They slipped in through a broken fence, finding refuge in a dilapidated barn. The barn offered little protection, its walls thin and its roof precarious, but it offered sufficient cover to allow them to observe their pursuers who circled overhead. It was during this time, observing the relentless helicopter, that they deduced the true nature of those chasing them, a militarized force unlike anything they had imagined. It was a force equipped with superior firepower and unwavering determination. Their situation had become increasingly dangerous, and the urgency of their plight increased. But even as they waited, their faith remained steadfast. Sarah found solace in quiet prayer, her heart overflowing with gratitude for every narrow escape, each instance of divine intervention. She knew that this chase was not just a physical test, but a spiritual one. It was a trial of faith, a test of their resilience, and a reminder of the relentless power of good against evil. They left the farm under the cover of darkness, their escape a carefully orchestrated dance between evasion and prayer. Their movements were guided by instinct and faith, a blend of survival skills and divine guidance. The night offered a different kind of peril, the darkness concealing dangers unseen, unseen paths leading them to the unknown. As dawn approached, they found themselves at the edge of a dense forest. The trees stood tall and dark, a silent sentinel watching over their path. Here, they were afforded a moment of reprieve, a brief moment to rest and gather strength. This was their moment to pray, to thank God for their continued safety, and to plead for His continued guidance in their flight. The pursuit resumed, their pursuers relentless. Yet, with each passing moment, their faith grew stronger. The escapes became more than just fortunate events. They were testaments to God's hand in their lives, a tangible sign of His unwavering support and divine intervention. They understood that this race against time was not just about survival, but about fulfilling God's will. It was a reminder that faith could endure even the most dire circumstances. It was during their flight through the forest that they encountered an unexpected ally, a group of survivors living in a hidden community, their existence unknown to the outside world. These individuals, guided by their faith and sharing a similar understanding of the impending apocalyptic events, provided them with much-needed supplies, shelter, and moral support. This chance meeting was a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there was still a community of believers who stood together, united by their faith and their shared commitment to fight against the looming darkness. The assistance they received was invaluable. It provided them with much-needed respite, a chance to gather strength both physically and spiritually, and to reaffirm their faith in God's guidance. The community shared their stories, their experiences, their unwavering belief in the face of adversity. It was a reminder that they weren't alone, that their fight was part of a larger struggle, and their journey was a testament to the resilient spirit of faith. Refreshed and renewed, they continued their desperate flight, armed with supplies, support, and unwavering faith. The chase remained relentless, yet each narrow escape was a testament to the power of prayer, the strength of faith, and the enduring love of God. The group pressed on, moving across diverse landscapes, using every means to elude their pursuers, always knowing that their faith was their ultimate protector. Their journey was not just a physical escape, but a spiritual testament of faith, perseverance, and hope against the backdrop of an unfolding apocalypse. And with each breath, with every prayer, their unwavering faith continued to fuel their desperate flight. Testing faith. The helicopter's shadow, a monstrous hawk circling its prey, followed them relentlessly. Daniel, sweat stinging his eyes, gripped the steering wheel tighter. The Jeep, a valiant steed in this apocalyptic race, bucked and swayed precariously on the uneven track. Sarah, clutching a worn Bible in her lap, murmured prayers, her voice barely audible above the engine's roar. John, his face grim with determination, scanned the rearview mirror, his hand resting lightly on the shotgun cradled between his legs. Emily, the youngest, her small hand clasped in Sarah's, whimpered softly, her fear palpable. Their escape felt less like a tactical maneuver and more like a desperate dance with death. Each hairpin bend, each treacherous drop-off, felt like a gamble with fate. Yet, with every near miss, their faith, though tested to its limits, seemed to burn brighter. It was a paradoxical experience. The closer they came to oblivion, the stronger their conviction in God's protective hand. The relentless pursuit began to take its toll. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, thirst parched their throats. Fatigue weighed heavily on their eyelids, threatening to steal their vigilance. The physical strain was immense, but the mental and emotional burdens proved even more exhausting. Doubt, an insidious serpent, began to whisper in the corners of their minds. Was their faith misplaced? Were they truly chosen by God? Or were they merely pawns in a larger, incomprehensible game? One particularly harrowing moment found them trapped. A landslide, triggered by the relentless downpour, had blocked the narrow mountain path. The Jeep, wedged precariously against a boulder, was effectively immobilized. The helicopter, having finally caught up, circled menacingly above, its deafening roar amplifying their despair. John, ever the pragmatist, suggested they abandon the vehicle and attempt to make a run for it on foot. But Sarah, her face etched with a quiet strength, insisted on prayer. She knelt in the dirt, her voice trembling but resolute, pleading for divine intervention. The others, their skepticism tempered by their desperate situation, joined her. They prayed for a miracle, a sliver of hope in the face of imminent doom. As they prayed, a strange calm settled over them. The fear, the desperation, did not entirely vanish, but it was replaced by a quiet acceptance, a surrender to God's will. It was during this prayer that Emily, usually quiet and withdrawn, surprised them all. Her voice, though childlike, was filled with unshakable faith. She spoke of God's unwavering love, His boundless mercy, and His ultimate victory over evil. Her words resonated, reigniting the flickering embers of their hope. And then, as if in answer to their fervent pleas, a miracle occurred. The land, seemingly solid and unyielding, began to shift and groan. A section of the landslide, weakened by the rain, unexpectedly gave way, creating a narrow passage. The opening wasn't wide, nor was it safe, but it was enough. With cautious determination, Daniel maneuvered the jeep through the gap, the vehicle scraping against the rock, sparks flying. They were free, but the respite was short-lived. Their pursuers, relentless in their pursuit, were quickly back on their trail. The chase continued, pushing them further into the wilderness, testing their limits both physically and spiritually. They encountered more obstacles: raging rivers, treacherous swamps, and dense forests teeming with unseen dangers, each one a fresh trial of their faith. One evening, exhausted and disheartened, they found themselves huddled around a meager fire. John, his usually optimistic demeanor faltering, voiced his doubts openly. "How much longer, Sarah? How much longer can we keep this up?" Sarah, her eyes filled with unshed tears, placed a comforting hand on his. "We have to keep going, John. Our faith is not about avoiding suffering, but about enduring it with God's grace. Remember, this is not just a physical escape. It's a spiritual journey. Every trial, every obstacle is a test of our faith, an opportunity to grow closer to God." Emily, surprisingly, added her own perspective, echoing Sarah's sentiments. She spoke about the stories she'd read in the Bible, of David and Goliath, of Moses and the Red Sea, of countless others who faced insurmountable odds and found strength in their faith. Each narrative, each act of divine intervention, became a source of encouragement for the weary travelers. During their journey, they witnessed breathtaking landscapes, yet the beauty felt tainted by the constant threat looming over them. The sunsets, normally a sight of serene magnificence, felt like a cruel reminder of their precarious situation. The stillness of the night offered no respite, only the gnawing fear of the unseen. Their pursuers were like shadows, always present, always threatening, but never fully revealed. The suspense, the constant uncertainty, became a constant companion. The trials they faced tested not only their physical strength, but the very core of their beliefs. Doubt crept in, whispering insidious suggestions of surrender, of giving up. They questioned God's plan, His purpose, His very existence. There were moments of despair, moments where they felt abandoned, alone in their struggle. Yet, amidst the darkness, glimmers of hope persisted. They found solace in their shared faith, drawing strength from one another's prayers and unwavering belief. They learned to rely on God's grace, not just as a magical solution to their problems, but as a constant source of strength and guidance. The trials refined their faith, stripping away the superficial aspects and revealing its true essence, a deep, unshakable trust in God's unwavering love and ultimate plan. They learned the importance of forgiveness and reconciliation. Past hurts and resentments, which had previously lingered between them, were healed through their shared adversity. They discovered a unity of spirit that transcended the physical challenges they faced. Their bond deepened, their faith strengthened, their love for one another amplified. The shared experience of facing death together forged an unbreakable bond among them. Their journey was not just a flight from physical danger, it was a journey of spiritual growth and transformation. It was a testament to the enduring power of faith, a stark reminder that God's grace is sufficient even in the darkest of times. Each obstacle overcome, each trial endured, became a step closer to a deeper understanding of their faith, strengthening their connection to God and to each other. The path ahead remained uncertain, the threat of capture ever present, yet their hearts were filled with an unwavering conviction. They were not alone. God was with them, guiding their steps, strengthening their resolve, and leading them towards a future they could only trust He would provide. The relentless chase served not only as a test of their physical endurance, but as a crucible, forging their faith into something stronger, more resilient, and infinitely more precious.